This movie really should have had its own theme song. I'm serious. If you're gonna make a ridiculous fictionalized version of a historical figure's life, make your own theme song for this movie.
FDR, American badass, fucking up the Nazis, killing those werewolves. That's an original.
It's not.
Yeah,
It's definitely
we
something
just
else.
made that up
If
right
you know
now.
what song Noel was just making up lyrics to, please let us know.
It's definitely inspired by something, but
Oh yeah, I guaranteed it
not
is.
intentionally so I think we're okay.
That's good at least. Welcome to Bad Movies and Beer. I'm Cooper.
And I'm Nolan.
And we just watched and are now going to talk about FDR, American Badass.
Yeah.
Yes, this is Franklin Delano Roosevelt, but a fictionalized version of his life in which he is a constantly cursing, rap lyric dropping, werewolf killing sex machine, essentially.
That's not how FDR sort of lived.
You know, I won't lie to you. I don't know a lot about American history, so it's possible that some elements of this were actually correct, but I feel like a good portion of it's exaggerated.
You mean he didn't kill a bunch of werewolves?
I don't even know, man. I don't even know what to say about this. This is just like, neither one of us have rated this movie yet. We're going to save it to the end. We're going to freestyle it like FDR does in the movie. But I
he
don't
drops
know,
a
man.
lot of freestyle. And this is funny. This is, I guess we were talking before the film. You're saying it's sort of inspired by the Abraham Lincoln vampire hunter kind of style of sort of fiction.
I feel like it has to be just a ridiculous fictionalized account of a like real person, but you make up these ridiculous extravagant details. I assume it's in relation to that, in response to that. This is our first ever comedy we have discussed.
None of the other movies we watched were intentionally funny.
Not intentionally funny, although I don't know if this one's intentionally funny either.
Well, I think it is. I think it has to be. This one's.
Oh,
I
the
actually
intention was there,
yeah.
but was it funny is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. That's. I laughed out loud quite a few times.
All right.
It is harder, I think, to talk about, and I think the rating is going to be a challenge because it is intentionally horrible, right? Like they pull out all of the punches to make this a piece of shit.
Oh, I don't know. See, when we watched Motorcycle Maniacs for our bonus episode, that movie is intentionally bad. They have done it in the style of bad 70s movies. This, I'm like, this is when shock comedy goes wrong. They are just trying to create like a buzz by like making a ridiculous movie full of curse words, full of gross out humor and sexuality, just to get enough buzz they can like sell some Blu-rays or get enough people to see this. I think that in my mind, this is like an exploitation cash grab.
You think so? That's interesting as a perspective. There were a lot of faces that I recognized that had been in lots of things. No sort of leading person in it, but I don't think it was sort of done on the super cheap. Like, I think they put some funds into making this movie.
Wait a second. Like, literally 5 minutes before we went to do this, you told me that the opening graphics was something you could have made on a fucking Commodore in your basement. So let's
That's
just calm
true.
down here.
They took some cheap ways out.
Well, yeah,
There's
that's
also,
what I'm saying.
I know. I guess I don't know.
Well,
it's
I will say,
interesting,
to your point,
Yeah.
there are name actors in this.
Yeah.
There are actors that you recognize, no like A-list stars, but many familiar faces.
And I really think the sort of style and I don't know, the way that they went about telling the story, it was so intentional, right? Like they could have made the werewolves look way more realistic. They could have done all kinds of stuff, but it is campy on purpose, right? Like, and you can tell both, I think, on the lines and the way that some of the things are executed. Even the starting scene that we're about to get into, I think, is supposed to be campy to be funny.
Well, before we get into that, let's just quickly talk about the beer that we are drinking for this episode. And I gotta be honest, I feel kind of bad about this beer choice.
You feel bad because the naming of it relates to our main character getting polio and being in a wheelchair?
Yes, that's exactly right. And for the record, I want to be very known. You picked this beer. You were giving me a lot of shit lately for me choosing the beers and choosing all these beers that weren't IPAs. This was one where you were like, hey, I'm at this brewery. Can we use this for anything? And I was like, yes.
So this is a brewery just a couple years old now called Steel Wheel Brewery in Brant, Ontario. And it is a really cool place. If you live in Southern Ontario or you have a chance to visit sometime, it is definitely worth checking out. They took an old farmhouse and turned it into a brewery. They have sort of a sit-in place and then a really nice outdoor space that people can go and drink beer and enjoy the products that they make. So they sort of focus mostly on sours and Loggers.
It's right up my alley.
I know you love this place. They do drop some ales and IPAs as well. So they've had some really good stuff. They're sort of the picture of their brewery is an old tractor.
Okay.
And this is why they call it the Steel Wheel. It's one of those old tractors that uses, and they even have that tractor there. Now, we've chosen to connect it to this movie because FDR does get polio and then have to be in a wheelchair. But
we're monsters, is what you're saying.
No.
We kind of get bailed out later in the movie.
Yeah, so he does say that his call sign, right, in the movie, he declares it and calls it out. He calls himself the
Wheels of Steel.
The Wheels of Steel.
But
yeah.
Did either of us know that ahead of time?
No.
No. We did not.
But it works in this context. And obviously, we're not doing this as a joke to.
You don't have to give a disclaimer.
But people know.
This is not. No.
All right.
So what is this particular beer we are drinking?
Oh, okay. So this is a Sauvignon blend sour. So it's a kettle sour, and it has Cabernet Sauvignon grapes used in it. It's going to be a high ABV. Should have some cool kind of wine type flavors to it.
Now, you know what? Here's the real reason why we picked this beer for FDR, because he got rid of prohibition. So the fact that this is kind of like a wine connection here with the Sauvignon.
It's both a Cab
grapes.
and Sauvignon Blanc.
There you go. So
two
this is
separate wine grapes put in there.
Had nothing to do with the wheelchair.
No, it is definitely a past prohibition beer here, or a prohibition beer, so it connects perfectly.
Perfectly. So let's
get it going.
Yeah, let's get into it. So we open with the aforementioned shitty graphics and a voiceover from the actor playing FDR, Barry Bostwick, which, my God, what a voice. Just an all-time voice.
Deep baritone voice.
Yeah, absolutely tremendous choice. He has the voice of what I would imagine a president should sound like, minus all of the cursing and racism.
Ooh, and really strong sexual content.
Yes, indeed. The voiceover is reading us basically a title card here. On January 30th, 1882, a man was born who would go on to change the course of world history as we know it. This man was a true American badass. I know because I am him. And he goes on to say this movie is dedicated to badasses everywhere. Then we get the movie title with FDR in a wheelchair maniacally shooting a machine gun behind it. And this was the first time you broke out laughing, but not the last.
Yeah. There are lots of over-the-top sections or spots in this movie, and the things that caught me off guard most generally were the out-of-nowhere extreme actions of the characters. And this one just sort of sets the tone for the things we're going to see throughout.
Oh, for sure. And then you mentioned earlier that this is supposed to be kind of campy on purpose.
Yes.
We immediately get the Batman spin of the, that thing.
That throws you right into that. I wonder if that's copyright. I wonder if they had paid for that.
It's possible, but when I think of campy things, I think of that Batman TV show.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally fits.
No, I agree. I think that sort of sets the tone right away for what we're getting, and they definitely deliver throughout.
Yes, they do. We begin with a hunting trip. FDR is there telling dirty stories. Suddenly they notice something moving, and it is not the grizzly bear they are expecting, but rather a werewolf. Basically, one of the characters is for everyone to run, and the werewolf immediately takes down one guy.
So when that guy gets taken down, I just want to sort of interrupt for a second here. He gets bit in the neck, and the blood spray immediately across sort of like a 20-foot area all over FDR.
Oh, yes, completely. They say he's... Yeah.
So Cooper's just had his first sip of the Cab Sauv sour blend, and it's delicious.
It's like drinking a glass of red wine. It doesn't even taste like beer.
We'll get to that later. It's going to grow on you as you keep drinking it.
So FDR says they're going to have to stay and fight the werewolf. One of his friends, Lewis, who's there, warns him that werewolves carry polio, which I don't think is correct.
So my American history as a Canadian is not very strong, but correct me if I'm wrong, FDR does get polio and end up in a wheelchair.
That is 100% accurate,
okay.
Yes.
And so this is their alternate history explanation of how that happens, right?
Now, it's kind of, and I don't want to say it's his own fault, but in this movie it's his own fault because he brazenly and with great hubris and in slow motion, as he is shotgunning the werewolf in the chest, he says... which I feel like is just inviting it on yourself.
Yeah, so he's definitely setting up that he's in trouble here because, of course, the shotgun shells were not filled with what?
Silver bullets. That's true. Lewis asks him, "Did you put silver bullets in there?" And he says no. And right away, the werewolf is back on his feet. He does like a kip up and is just like standing again. And he kills another member of the hunting party.
This time slashes him in the chest and tears out his heart.
Yeah, and then he throws it at Lewis. And this kind of made me chuckle a little bit, but it hits Lewis in the face and kind of slides down. And Lewis says, "Why even take the time to do that?" I'm like, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. And then we get FDR, who decides that he's not going to use the gun anymore because he doesn't have silver bullets, but he's going to fucking hand-to-hand box this motherfucker.
Yeah, he's got to handle it old school. And it's not like regular boxing that we know now. It's the old-timey, like where the fists are kind of like
raised in
pointing
the air.
upwards. Yeah, it's really strange.
Yeah.
And he's boxing this werewolf, and it's just a ridiculous scene. And he does defeat him. He kills the werewolf, but not before the werewolf bites him in the leg. And FDR kind of blacks out at this point. When he wakes up, his wife is very glad to see he's alive. He assures her, "Nobody's going to take down the Delano, kitten tits."
So is this the first use of the name Delano? This becomes
The Delano?
Yeah. This becomes his moniker as he goes on to kick ass throughout the movie.
God, they sell it so
Delano
hard.
is how he's doing it. His derogatory terms towards Eleanor throughout, or this is just the very start of that as well?
I was going to say, is this the first recorded time in history of someone saying kitten tits? I've never heard that before.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm sure we could find a tape somewhere in the annals of history, but that is not a very common phrase, that's for sure.
No. So, unfortunately, despite surviving, he now has polio because, of course, the werewolves carry polio. So he'll never walk again. And now, in his words, he has tiny shriveled up polio legs, which he says several times throughout this movie.
But he also declares that his still works.
Oh, at least his works. That's true.
And he makes that really well known. In fact, he wants it to be known so much that he wants it in the papers the next day.
Yeah. So that's a minor win. It's still a sad day. He has lost the ability to walk. The doctor pulls his friend Lewis out of the room to show him something. A man with a squirrel up his ass. But that was actually a mistake.
That was the wrong. That was the wrong one, which is clearly
damn.
Like a play at the, what is it? Who's Redford?
Robert Redford?
Well, isn't that the like joke that goes around?
No, it's Richard Gere.
That's who it is. It's Richard Gere.
But that was a gerbil.
Yeah. I think they're
that's it.
Well, no, I think they're insinuating a connection to that kind of idea.
I think it's just fucking gross out humor. They're just because
Right.
It's so clunky.
So
he pulls the sheet off, and it's a guy with a squirrel up his ass, and the guy's like, "Why are you showing me this?" And he's like, "Whoa, whoop, my mistake, wrong body."
This movie is full of low-hanging fruit, right? They're
very much so.
They're not aiming for the skies. They are trying to get the easiest humor they can out of it.
Oh, and that's all they get. So he ends up, it's the wrong body. He pulls the sheet off a different body, and it's the werewolf from the hunting trip. And it turns out the werewolf is German.
No.
Yes, they can tell because he has a Nazi tattoo. Also, he had a copy of Mein Kampf on him and a couple of Beethoven albums.
Yeah.
What on earth?
Yeah. Yes. So clearly German, the werewolf was. And where he hid all of these things in his sort of small jacket and werewolf outfit, I'm not sure. But
yeah, Lewis tells the doctor to bag it up and they're going to go examine it later. Meanwhile, people are just going crazy for the Delano. They want him to run for president. He doesn't want them to see him in a wheelchair, but a plucky 10-year-old boy who has polio himself encourages FDR to get in the chair and run for president. And Jesus Christ, this scene was hard to watch.
yeah, this is a rough scene. The Timmy scene, I wrote it down here.
Is it Timmy or Tommy?
Well, I think it's Timmy, but FDR keeps calling him Tommy incorrectly. He makes fun of a speech impediment and also says some really inappropriate things about the wheelchair, but then sort of does his best. But you can do it, kid, and I'm going to do it too.
Yeah, he invites the kid to come back to the governor's mansion for a catch.
Yeah, but he said on the 6th, like Thursday of April, and there are not 6 weeks in any particular
is that what he
month.
said?
Yeah.
Oh,
So he tricks the kid into like thinking he's going to be with him later.
Whatever. He goes out and meets the press. He's cracking just terrible jokes, including, I don't even want to say this, man. This is going to be in trouble. Marco. Polio.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah, so there's some bad jokes in here. It's at this point where I was getting confused about the sort of budget of the film Like, even some of the actors and actresses in the sort of crowd that he was speaking to, I kind of recognized their faces. Like, they
Yes.
looked like they had been in stuff. And I was like, is this small budget? Is it big budget? Where does this fit? Does the person who created it have a lot of friends but not a lot of money? Like, I was like, what is sort of the idea behind this, and what were they trying to achieve? But I was asking a lot of questions at this point.
You know what? I have a lot of questions about this too. After all these terrible jokes, he eventually gives a somewhat motivational speech and announces his candidacy for president. We get another one of those Batman spins back to the governor's mansion, where his wife is kind of being cold to him. She wants to sleep in a different bedroom.
She doesn't like his, quote,
tiny,
hot
shriveled
dog
up
legs. Yeah, and so she doesn't want to be there, but she does say that she's debriefed him.
Yes.
And they're making this weird play on words about, like, getting information from him, but really it means taking off his underwear. Yeah. And then his friend says, "Oh, good, I don't like doing that."
Yeah, Lewis is his kind of aide here, his friend, his number one guy. He tells Eleanor to get her shit together. They need FDR in the White House because there might be more werewolves.
Oh, and there are.
Oh, there sure are.
Mm-hmm.
Lewis goes into FDR's room to show him a newspaper article, which he, again, like you mentioned, hopes it says that his cock is still working. It is not, because that's not fit for print in newspapers of the era.
But apparently it was going to be in the newspaper the next day.
Well, he insisted on calling and correcting the reporter, or letting the reporter know. More importantly, the werewolf is German, and so they're going to need to beef up security on the campaign trail. Speaking of which, we get a lot of black and white footage of the campaign trail. Stops in New York, Pennsylvania, Maryland. FDR is charming various union types. There is a truly awful scene in here.
So this is as close to a montage as we get in the movie.
I was thinking of you. I'm like, these are so close to montages.
We
probably
almost
not close
got
enough.
there. I kind of enjoyed the way that they traveled, where they would take the map and show the train traveling along the map of the United States.
Yeah, the Indiana Jones kind of map style.
Yeah.
With like a train underneath it kind of driving.
I appreciated that way of showing where they were going. But yes, we had some horrible interactions with the people there. I know where you're about to go here.
Where is it? Tell
You're
people.
about to talk about the people on the dock. The dock workers.
Yeah, the stevedores in Maryland, Baltimore, I'm assuming, is where they were for this. They literally just run through the lyrics of Living on a Prayer by Bon Jovi.
I know. As soon as he says, so he throws down the first line about Tommy.
Tommy used to work on the docks. Yeah.
And then they go to Gina, right? And then we're making eye contact like, no f***ing way.
Yeah,
And
this is like 2 minutes of movie. They just go through. It's ridiculous.
this is the first of several quotes from songs throughout this movie, and several of them are from like rap or hip hop songs. Yeah,
yep.
But it's just funny. I don't know. They obviously sought permission to do those things, right? Maybe
I don't know legally.
Yeah,
I don't know what
that
the
would be,
amount you have to do for that is, but you're probably at this point. I know I was watching that scene being like, how can this get any worse? Well, we find out because we end up in Georgia.
Oh boy,
where FDR meets my least favorite character, Cleavon Buford, who is played in what I can only hope is a career-ending role by... I'm serious.
I saw you go to your phone. Did you look up who was doing the acting?
Well, I already knew the answer to this. I just need to know his name. This is
Okay.
going to blow your mind because you mentioned earlier someone having friends but not money.
Yeah.
The person playing that role is the screenwriter of this movie.
What?
That's right. Ross Patterson is his name. He is the man who wrote the screenplay, and he is playing the role of Cleavon Buford.
Really?
Yes, sir.
That kind of explains a lot, because the Cleavon character is, we're going to find out he is extreme, and he comes back, and I did laugh at a few of the moments he's in.
I mean, fair. That's fair. Cleavon, for those of you who have not seen the movie, is a dim-witted Republican, or repube, as he repeatedly calls it. He invites FDR and Lewis to stay for dinner. Turns out that in addition to being a repube, he too has a shriveled up polio leg. And also his wife will blow them all if they stay for dinner.
So he was the senator from Georgia, right? Or congressman. He was the congressman from Georgia. And yeah, so they didn't really want to stay with him because FDR was a Democrat. But he invites them in and invites them and promises that his wife will blow them all. Which apparently she does, I think.
Well, Lewis for sure.
Yeah, definitely. They have some interesting conversations around the dinner table.
Oh my God, the dinner scene's atrocious.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. And then they have also.
Well, no, don't gloss over it.
Yeah.
What do they talk about?
Come
on. There's a story about some native girls.
Yeah, there's some weird stuff about the first time that indigenous people indigenous women have their menstrual cycle.
Yeah, apparently if you get it in a warm spring, this will create a womb-like sensation where anybody in the warm spring feels as though they are like safe and warm, like in their mother's womb.
Yeah, it'll make them feel sort of safe. And then they go and use that later by going into some warm springs, and it sort of brings back some life to their polio legs.
Apparently, yes, it brings back the sensation of life to their shriveled up polio legs. Again, not our words, the words of the movie.
Yeah.
But also, hold on, while he's telling that story, his wife is with a chicken drumstick, just like mashing it into a pile of mashed potatoes, repeatedly just jabbing it in there to
really
simulate some sort of
sex sound. Yeah.
I mean, the sounds it was making are vaguely reminiscent of intercourse, yes.
Yeah, it was like, it was a strange combination and extremely suggestive for sure. Like, they're not subtle at all about any of the humor that comes with this character. And you go through a lot of stuff there. And then there is like a strange slavery.
Oh, an extremely tasteless joke about racism.
Yeah, and basketball.
Yeah.
And then they go into the hot springs. And then in the next morning, they're sort of greeting them outside in the car as they're about to leave.
Well, but okay, you're glossing over so much here. They go in the hot springs, and in the hot springs, Cleavon is telling a story, and we get a flashback to his own werewolf encounter. We
can't skip that.
It was a camping trip gone wrong.
Oh my gosh.
He ends up killing a werewolf with a sterling silver cheese knife that he always keeps in his pants for some reason.
Yeah, he was on a camping trip with his nephew, Jimmy Carter. The werewolf was about to get Jimmy as he was off in the woods pleasuring himself. And he calls the werewolf. The werewolf attacks him, bites his leg, and he finishes it off with his cheese knife. And then he goes back to the woods to continue to finish himself off and not make sure Jimmy's okay. And then we get like to morning. That was then we're back to the hot tub. But then we're in the hot tub, and a random woman comes out of the springs who was like her name is Georgia, and
her name is Peaches.
Oh, okay.
She's from Georgia. They're in Georgia.
Yeah, and they were insinuating that she was giving him a blowjob
the whole time.
Yeah.
Yep. And also his wife's been banging Lewis while he and FDR are in the.
He did say they were swingers or something. I don't know.
Yep, they like to swing. The next day, FDR invites Cleavon to come to Washington and serve in his cabinet, and this causes Cleavon to launch into a very emotional and very drooly story about a magical snowman.
We were flying through the air together, kicking our little legs. We were free. We were free. I have that same feeling right now, sir.
This to me was the moment that he was the worst in the
He's
entire
awful.
movie. So he starts foaming at the mouth and going off about Frosty the Snowman and how this has made him just as excited as that. And then he finishes off with a promise that he and his wife will suck dicks together for Georgia.
Oh, as many dicks as it takes to get FDR elected.
And it works.
Yeah, well, yeah. Fast forward to election day, the results are coming in. FDR wins, and we get. Actually, listen. You know what? And this is where
celebration.
This is where I'm giving this movie a lot of shit, but I have to take a long look in the mirror because I actually laughed a lot at this. And
yes, you did.
This particular scene. Oh, you were laughing too. F you. Don't put this on me. Come on, man. We get this maniacal celebration where Lewis, this is the most sane reaction. Lewis cracks open a whole jar of jelly beans and just pours them into his mouth.
Yeah. What else happens?
FDR takes a jug of milk and pours the whole thing on his head, then starts pretending to f the jar.
After he tears his shirt off.
Yeah, well, he tears his shirt off. His wife tears her bra off. She's kind of dancing around. Her thing's pretty tame as well. His son, who came in to tell them that he had won the election, takes his shit in a vase.
So this part of the scene was graphic. So James, right? I think his name is James. Comes in, he tries to tell his father that he's won, and his father doesn't quite believe him and threatens to like just fucking beat the living shit out of him.
Threatens to whip him with a fat man's belt.
Yeah.
I guess the thinking being that a fat man's belt would be like thicker
bigger
or
and worse.
stronger.
Yeah, I don't know. And then when he wins, he pulls down his pants, finds a vase, and literally starts shitting in it multiple times.
I don't know why this made me laugh so much. This is one of like 3 times in this movie where I was embarrassed at how much I was laughing. This scene, like, you know what it is? It's just like you said, it's extreme. They celebrate beyond the rational amount of anyone celebrating, and it made me chuckle because it's just so ridiculous.
Well, and then at the end of this, FDR tries to get up, out of the wheelchair.
Oh, he can't walk.
He can't walk. He falls over and breaks the table, like wrestling style through a table.
Oh my God.
I think after yelling "suck it" to everyone in there, there's a bit of like TX in here, and he falls through the table. And
oh my God.
Yeah.
A Secret Service agent comes in and tells them basically, he's like, at first he's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? But then once they're all embarrassed, he's like, no, I'm just kidding. This is exactly what Woodrow Wilson did. They're all,
He said except for the shitting in the vase.
Except for the shitting in the vase. That part was a little strange.
Do you think FDR's son was known for shitting in vases?
Well, it comes up so many times.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
It
comes up again. So is there something that we don't know about this? Is this something that like some people do and is looked down upon, or
a historical rumor or something that was like, I don't know.
That's interesting.
From there, we get some stock footage of post-election America, people celebrating. Then we're off to Nazi Germany. Hitler, who is a werewolf, and he's furious about the new president. He calls Mussolini, who is also a werewolf.
And I love here that they're talking about FDR, and in this scene, they ask like, why didn't the werewolf kill him? They say it got his legs and he can't walk.
Well, Mussolini is mostly upset that his still works.
Well, yeah, they come back and they're like, oh, damn, his still works. So you failed. If his was broken, it wouldn't have been a big deal, but it is now.
Oh, they also then they do a three-way call with Emperor Hirohito, and this, oh my God.
Boy.
Sorry, he's also a werewolf, and this is a very offensive portrayal of a Japanese person.
They are so racist about this.
Yes. L's are switched with R's, and it's just like a stereotypical voice.
It is so bad.
At one point, he's practicing like teppanyaki skills. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's really rough. And they make fun of sake so hard.
Well, they do. They make a plan to destroy America by putting werewolf blood in Italian wine and German beer, because obviously with prohibition going on, all the wine and beer coming in is from out of country. So when they drink this, the Americans will turn into werewolves. And Hirohito says, we'll also put it in sake. And they basically laugh that off because sake is apparently only for women and the gay community.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's rough. I don't even understand. I mean, there's a lot of stereotyping in this movie, but this section is so... I want to use the word, like, it doesn't make sense, but it's so inexpensive. It's so poorly done. Like, there's no thought to the Asian character at all.
Oh, it's really bad. Yeah. From there, we go to the White House, where FDR meets his butler named George Freeman. They make another racist joke about how ironic it is the black man's last name is Freeman.
Yes.
I'm uncomfortable with this.
And then immediately he mentions where the weed is.
That is also true. Yes. The black guy is the weed hookup for the president. FDR also meets his hot young assistant, and he decides to address the nation in a scene that is offensive to pretty much everyone.
Yeah,
it's offensive to women. It's offensive to black people. It is just offensive to essentially the whole world.
You assume that all of this is intentional in this film, right? Like all of those choices are intentional choices.
It's shock comedy. It's shock comedy.
It's purely as a...
They're saying outrageous things to get attention.
Yep. He starts rapping to the nation.
Yes, his black butler ends up, record scratching, and
he becomes his DJ.
This scene is just offensive to everybody. He tells the nation he's going to get the economy working again and end prohibition, and ends by saying,
"This is the Delano, signing off. God bless."
I love that he's just going with the Delano
The
thing.
Delano is it now, right?
I'm forevermore going to refer to FDR as the Delano.
All right.
Which 99% of the population will not get because they wouldn't have seen this shitty movie. But yeah.
How many people are you going to talk to about FDR?
Probably not many.
Yeah. Like, do you think this ever comes up again in your life?
I would like to think that once COVID restrictions lift and we can travel freely and I'm in the United States, I'll be like, hey, you guys like the Delano?
You're just going to bring it up so you can say the Delano. It's more the point. It's not that anyone was like, hey, do you remember the president in between World War I and World War II and the guy who got us there afterwards? He had polio, right?
You know what? I will go to Mount Rushmore just for the excuse.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, look at these fine characters. Washington, Lincoln, Jefferson, the Delano.
I'm impressed that you know who is on Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, are you kidding me? My salt and pepper shakers are Mount Rushmore.
Oh, I have no idea.
It's a weird...
Oh, I can see them right now. Yeah, impressive. Why can I see your salt and pepper shakers? That's a better question.
We're going to cut all of this. Unless we're so short on time, this ends up making it in.
Yeah.
Oh, God. His wife thinks this is all wildly inappropriate, but his young assistant was very moved by his speech, which is going to pay off in a big way later.
For him or for the movie
for everyone.
makers?
The FBI the FBI wants to talk to him. They've discovered this whole werewolf plot. Germany, Italy, and Japan are banding together, and to combat them, FDR is going to need something special. The Delano 2000.
Yeah, he declares them the Axis, right? He pulls out the Axis of evil terminology there. And he throws down, and who created the Delano 2000 for him?
I don't know, the U.S. military?
Albert Einstein.
Oh, that's right. I'm so sorry. How could I forget? Yes.
So they have like this Einstein character in the background, and he makes this super combat wheelchair for FDR.
Yeah, it's a souped-up wheelchair. It's got rocket launchers and silver bullet machine guns. And the scene ends with FDR saying, "Regulators, mount up."
Yeah, after he takes quotes from rap songs for sure.
Absolutely. So now he's just hunting werewolves, and he starts with some Italian ones who are smuggling in wine. He machine guns them in a very operatic scene with like this opera music and slow motion bullet shots.
We've got Italian music playing. It's clearly supposed to be the mafia, the ones who are bringing in that sort of laced wine with the vampire blood in it. And he takes down all of them but one.
That's true. He leaves one alive to spread his message, and that message is that the Delano doesn't give a f***. That one also offers to suck his dick in exchange for continuing to live.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in this movie.
A lot, yes. FDR then blows up the factory with its rocket launchers.
Yeah, he's coming. He's coming for the Axis right now. We I think clip into a shot of him taking body shots off of a woman on the bar. She's topless and he's taking shots, and then it splits over to Hitler, who is also doing alcohol things with topless women.
He's playing beer pong with a topless Fraulein. Turns out Germany, Italy, and Japan are all furious at the way this is kind of panned out here. And Japan is especially furious after he sends the sake back to Hirohito with a note saying, "Don't ever send this shit over here again."
Yeah, he's pissed. This is where we get that racist teppanyaki joke thrown in here as well.
And now it's war. They're going to war. So because they're going to war, there's a meeting with Sir Winston Churchill, and everyone at the meeting is drinking. Cleavon is there, and he serves Winston Churchill a drink that is, quote, "as stiff as a dead man's cock." And Cleavon,
I take this one.
Cleavon says,
Thank you, sir. I take great pride in that. My father passed away with an erection.
What does that mean?
I don't know. This is one of the 3 times I laughed in this movie.
Yeah,
this is one of them.
At Cleavon, your least favorite character.
That popped me. I don't know why. The idea, it's just a silly thing to say, but it made me laugh. Perhaps I owe Ross Patterson an apology because you know what? His screenplay made me laugh 3 times.
Yeah, he definitely did.
His
delivery of that line too. So that was all Patterson right there.
That one got me. Churchill needs weapons, so FDR decides to mass produce arms. And Churchill really needs weapons because, as we see, the Nazi werewolves are advancing on London.
Yeah, things aren't good. We know that they're pushing through Europe and they're on their way into France and looking to get to London. Of course, FDR isn't willing to just give him military support for the betterment of the sort of democratic or free world. He's going to lease them to them.
Yeah, they work out a lend-lease program. Now, very soon after this, Churchill also needs troops as well because he's suffered heavy losses. When FDR tells his assistant that this is stressing him out.
Well, that's true. And then we get into this scene where the assistant is sort of rubbing down our president.
Oh, yeah. She offers him a massage, and she touches his legs, which no one has done since he got polio. And this scene gets sexual just very quickly. She's rubbing and licking his legs, and then she mentions that it reminds her of home because she grew up in Coney Island, home of the famous hot dog eating contest.
They have mentioned before that his legs are kind of like shriveled hot dogs, and she is all about it. She starts to pull up her dress, and what does she show?
She's got ketchup and mustard bottles in like a holster, and she sprays the ketchup and mustard all over his legs. She's licking it off, and this is the 3rd time I laughed in this movie, and I once again I am embarrassed by how much I laughed during this scene.
We were both kind of uncontrollably laughing as they're both.
It's ridiculous.
They were both having sort of an orgasmic moment as his legs are getting rubbed and licked while he's covered in mustard and ketchup, and she is enjoying the rubbing and licking so hard.
Barry Bostwick's like pleasure groaning / shouting during this scene is
And
going to stay with me always.
And it's moving and jerking around.
Oh my God,
it was
man.
impressive.
This guy,
It was a well-executed scene. I was really disappointed because what happens to break up what we would assume would be a co-completion on this event?
You mean for the characters or for you and me?
Both, I think. I might have laughed so hard I popped. That's possible.
Oh my God. Eleanor Roosevelt walks in.
It's always Eleanor shutting down the
She
fun.
is, man.
Oh.
She strong arms a hoe. Those are her words. Not mine. I want to be very clear about that.
She slaps her and knocks her all the way across the room.
Yeah, and this eventually leads to a long overdue conversation where he shows her his tiny little shriveled up polio legs. Again, not my words.
And they are flailing.
He loves showing those things off. He flashes those things like 13 times during this movie. He's sexually frustrated, man. She's grossed out by his legs and he has needs. And I get it. I understand where he's coming from. I've never had polio, obviously, but I just understand, like, you know, you want
You
to feel
understand
wanted.
having needs.
Of course.
You're with the Delano.
Yeah, I'm with the Delano on this one.
So we transition from that into sort of a war room. We got FDR sitting there with his generals.
Yeah, they're officially going to war, so FDR decides to go fireside on their asses, while Dougie Mack and Dwight D. Eisenhower plan an attack. Now, FDR is really unsure about what to say and what to do, so under the advice of his butler, he decides to fire up some of George Washington's White House stash.
Yeah, he pulls out this like ancient-looking humidor, and inside of it, he opens it, and there are several joints, and on them they are, say, cherry tree.
Nice little reference there.
Right? And so he lights up.
Yeah, and as soon as he does, a portrait of Abraham Lincoln comes to life, and it's for some reason played by Kevin Sorbo.
Yeah, TV's Hercules
That's
is
exactly right.
also Abe Lincoln, apparently.
Yeah, they smoke together, first in the Oval Office, then on the White House roof. And Abraham Lincoln gives him a history lesson. Apparently, the werewolves are telepathic and can sense when someone is destined for greatness. This is why they attacked George Washington, attacked Abraham Lincoln, and now they are attacking FDR as well.
Yeah, so this is a history of werewolves trying to stop the United States, apparently. And then he's trying to make a decision, and Abe tells him that he just needs to keep freestyling.
That's it. All, speak from the heart. Do what you feel is right. Also, Abraham Lincoln can fly.
Yeah, he takes him on kind of an Aladdin, like, I can show you the world exploration.
These effects are horrible. Tell the truth.
It's not good. There's some really bad animation of Kevin Sorbo with, like, I don't know, laying on a flat surface
Yeah,
and
he's just
pushing the
horizontal.
wheelchair. Yeah, he's horizontal and the wheelchair is pushing. And yeah, it's really bad.
Yeah, they encounter 3 different people. A hot dog vendor who, of course, sprays ketchup and mustard all over himself because that is now forever how we will all think of FDR and sexuality.
It's hilarious that he blames Sorbo for that. He blames Abe Lincoln.
He does.
Well, and it was him because we know that portrait of Abe Lincoln was watching that whole thing and enjoyed
That's all he
it.
does.
Just
He
like
says
we
he's
did,
trapped
right?
in the portrait.
Yeah.
He just watches.
Yeah.
We also encounter a black guy who thanks Abraham Lincoln for freeing him and points out that he's having sex with a white lady. So, progress.
Yeah, this is really weird. I don't know. This was a certainly unnecessary scene.
Yes. Last but not least, they encounter a cartoon eagle.
Yeah, I was thrown off by this. Of course, we know that the eagle is kind of a symbol of America. And then he tells FDR to try to grab on and ride it, and FDR just tries and falls.
Yeah, he does. And then he wakes up in the Oval Office with a plan. He's going into battle on the Delano 2000, naturally. But first, he gives a speech to the soldiers who are heading to Normandy about leading by example. He's going to prove to these werewolves that his spirit won't be broken. And this is where we get the famous quote, "There's nothing to fear but fear itself."
Yeah, was he the one who coined this?
I
I don't know, but he used it in the speech.
I'll just start getting the Cooper was wrong.
Yeah, I don't know.
Instagram thing ready right now.
It is definitely.
Yes, I'm going to say yes.
Okay, it is definitely a famous saying. I just wondered if that was used at that time. But yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
He flies off to war in a plane. He checks in with his call sign, which is Wheels of Steel, again linking to our beer.
Yeah. He throws down that this is the Wheels of Steel hitting the air, and he's going to go lead the soldiers into the attack on Normandy.
Yes, but he is quickly shot down by Hitler.
Well, he takes out a few Germans first, and I think he even hits Mussolini.
He does. He kills Mussolini, who it turns out was going to open a chain of Italian restaurants called the Olive Garden. I'm not sure why that needed to be in there.
That was a weird inclusion.
Yeah.
Why is Olive Garden such a thing in, like, American
Now,
comedy
hang on.
and humor in life.
Don't
Like-
you come in here and disparage the good God did man of the Olive Garden.
See, this is what I want to know. Like, why do people love the Olive Garden that much?
Free salad and breadsticks. Come on.
But that means that it should be in like all of our popular culture, and everyone has a positive view of the Olive Garden.
I don't think they deserve a negative view like they were founded by Mussolini. Why are you in here hating on the Olive Garden?
I think in comments people should tell us if they're thumbs up or thumbs down with the Olive Garden.
Have you ever eaten at the Olive Garden?
When I was a child.
And did you enjoy it?
I don't remember. I was a child.
No, the answer is yes. You enjoyed it.
I would have eaten anything at that point.
Well, you were lucky enough to be eating Olive Garden. I will not have any Olive Garden bashing on this podcast.
I don't understand popular culture's love with the Olive Garden.
It's just a thing that everyone knows because it's all over the place.
And because it's great, apparently.
You know, you get your money's worth. You get unlimited salad and breadsticks. I mean, come on.
All right, we've belabored the Olive Garden too long.
Well, one of us has. News of him being shot down reaches home. His wife is devastated, and so is his lovely assistant from earlier. FDR, however, is trying to jump out of the plane. He's not dead yet. But, of course, jumping out of the plane is hard because his legs don't work. Luckily,
Who's there to save him?
Cleveland is there.
Yes. No, this part is just awesome.
I don't know why you enjoy this so much. He's stowed away on the plane in like a box, and he jumps out holding a fucking martini. And they jump out of the plane together.
Yeah, so he helps FDR into the Delano 2000.
Yep.
And he gets a parachute on him, and he helps him jump out. This man is the true American hero.
Oh, my God. You know what? Except Cleveland, of course, because he's an idiot. He is not wearing a parachute, so this is goodbye.
He sacrificed himself for the better of America.
He didn't sacrifice himself. He's too fucking stupid to know he wasn't wearing a parachute.
Well, he's drunk. He's always had an alcoholic drink in his hand the entire time he's been on screen.
You and I are drunk right now. I still wouldn't jump on the plane with a fucking parachute on.
That's true. Yeah.
That is true. As FDR is in free fall, Hitler is still shooting at him, but FDR says, this is the line, "You want the Delano? You got him. Picture me rolling." He shoots him several times.
Yeah, he uses his wheelchair and he sort of moves the wheels, and then you see all those silver bullets fly out, and yeah, it takes him down.
Absolutely. Now, this is the last anyone hears of FDR for about 6 weeks, but 6 weeks later, he returns alive. His wife, Eleanor, is very angry, but only because she was so worried. And now she's going to...
So she's angry, but she's also something else.
Yeah, she's so relieved that now, despite his tiny shriveled up polio legs that look like wrinkled old hot dogs, she's going to ride him like a spring pony at the state fair.
Yeah, so she promises that she's going to break that deadlock of 9 years without fucking.
And he's definitely up for it. But first, he's going fireside. And he gets on the radio to let the people of America know that he's alive. And he says, "For those of you who thought I was gone..."
Allow me to reintroduce myself.
It's Franklin Delano Roosevelt, motherfucker!
And then credits.
It
We're
just
out.
rolls.
That's
Yeah,
it.
Yeah, and you get sort of the 20s style, like, border and text as it ends it.
And that's the movie, man. I got to say, this is just like... I don't even know. Like you said, we haven't written down ratings for this. We're just going to freestyle it like the Delano does.
Yeah.
So this is the time. This is the time we rate the movie. We're going to rate it 1 to 10 for how bad it is, 1 to 10 for how enjoyable. And the goal, as always, is to find that 10 out of 10 bad, 10 out of 10 enjoyable movie, what we call the
Crit
20.
I love that you're on the spot for the very first rating because we have never done a comedy. This is intentionally horrible.
You keep saying it's intentionally horrible, but I don't think that's quite right. It's intentionally shocking and vulgar. They're trying to be as offensive as possible, and they are pretty successful. It's a very offensive. Like, many scenes are just... There were times we do look at each other, we're just like,
Yeah.
How are we going to talk about this?
It is difficult because of some of the content they used in there, yes. But I think those choices were all on purpose.
I did laugh a few times,
You did.
so I can't give this 10 out of 10 bad. I wanted to so badly.
But we're not talking about enjoyability here. How bad is
know.
this film?
But if you make a comedy with the goal of making people laugh, and people laugh, even if it's only 3 times, I think you have at least on some level succeeded. I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10, but I don't feel good about it. Now you talk.
Now I talk. That was hard because we didn't write anything down.
We didn't.
Extremely offensive. poor graphics, really strange choices of humor and history making.
Yeah, it is, man. Yeah.
It's hard because I agree the intention was to make people laugh, but I'm not sure I was laughing where I was supposed to be. I think sometimes I was. I still think this is a horrible fucking movie.
Okay.
It's a 10 bad.
Okay, so I originally, when I first watched it, because I watched this before you and I watched it together. I've seen this movie twice now.
You've seen this more than once?
I've seen it twice now.
You were still laughing your ass off at stuff you've already seen.
I can't help it. It was funny to me.
All right.
This is why I can't give it 10.
This is shocking. I didn't know this
like,
was the first time you were watching. I thought
not.
this was your first run.
No, this was not. I did not lose my virginity to FDR on this day. I lost it many moons ago.
You liar.
I'm not a liar. I never told you it. Come on.
You misled me. I thought we were doing this together for the first time.
You thought wrong. I watched this before, and my first instinct was this is 10 out of 10 bad, but I don't know. Like I watched it again, and comedies are different when you watch them with people.
Would you watch it a third time?
I will not watch this a third time. No,
You're lying right now.
lying. I'm not lying.
All right. Okay. All right.
I can see scenarios where this would be on in a room that I'm in. If someone was like, "What is this movie? Can we watch it?" I'm not going to be like, "No." I'll say yes, but
Okay.
I don't imagine.
How enjoyable? And is this
No, you go first for
Yeah,
enjoyable.
okay.
You go for enjoyable. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I did fully expect this to be a 10 out of 10 bad, but the experience of watching a comedy with other people is different from watching it by yourself.
It's true. I'm glad we watched this together.
Me too.
Right. It definitely helps when we're able to laugh at some of the stuff. I laughed quite a lot.
Okay.
I found a lot of the situations they created enjoyably ridiculous. I'm going to be honest. I am extremely immature and enjoyed lots of the humor.
Yeah.
So that's fine. So for the enjoyability scale, I can't give it a 10.
Oh.
I know. I saw
for
your
a second there.
your
You
finger
teased
there.
me. I'm like,
I
for a
know.
second, like, he was really coming in effusive with praise.
I know your finger there was ready to go on there, but I did laugh a lot. I'm not upset that I watched it. If someone else had it on, I'd probably watch it again.
Oh my God.
Or pieces of it.
Of
Yeah.
all the movies.
I know. I'm gonna give it an 8.
Oh,
I'm giving it
goodness.
an 8, and that's pretty
Wow.
high praise. And that's after one. It might have something to do with this delicious 8+% beer that we're consuming, but
We're
you know.
going to talk about that in a second.
Yeah,
So it's an 8 for you.
yeah.
Okay. We're freestyling here. I'm going to give it an 8 also.
Woo!
I'm
There
gonna
you go.
give it
It's
an
an
8
8.
also.
Wow, look at this.
I enjoyed watching this with you. I laughed my ass off 3 different times. I don't know why the thing about his father dying with an erection made me laugh so much, but it really did.
Yeah, I think that popped us both.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like it's a terrible movie that I could not in good conscience recommend to other humans.
No. But for the purposes of podcasting
No,
together,
yeah.
it was a good time.
And to your point, I am also very immature and I can't help but enjoy like dick humor and like bad language. And
Yeah.
this movie was full of it. And I keep going back to Barry Bostwick's voice is just so like, he committed to this role completely. He was reveling in it. And his voice is just so perfect. It's so perfect for this.
If Barry Bostwick did a voice for like an erotic reading, would you go to sleep to it every evening?
I'd stay awake and have sex to it.
With yourself or
Oh
others?
my God.
Yeah.
And
All right.
thrusting and thrusting and thrusting.
Oh, if it was an instructional
Oh my
audio
God.
bit.
Oh, Jesus. Anything. No, man, he's great. Like, and like, I was impressed with his comedic timing and capability. He really just embraced
He
this
actually
shit.
did a really good job.
I don't know
thought
what
he
they
was
were
all right.
paying him, but
Yeah.
it wasn't enough. He should have got paid more.
He hopefully was the top paid person in this.
I have to assume 90% of the budget in this movie went to his salary.
And then second to our screenwriter / second.
That guy. Ross Patterson.
Oh, Ross
You
Patterson
crook.
deserved more.
You made me
Yeah.
laugh 3 times, Ross Patterson. We're cool.
Okay, good.
We're cool. I'm giving it an 8, man. I
All
don't
right,
know.
all right, that's
Like,
perfect. There we go. Okay.
Again, freestyle. I think I will wake up tomorrow sober or hungover and be
And
like,
not feel
why
the
did I
same
give
way.
that an
Yeah.
8? But here we are.
there we go. We can't change our decisions
We
now.
can't. You're going to ask me about the beer, aren't you?
Yeah, we have this Sauvignon Blanc sour from Steel Wheel Brewery.
Nope. Nope. I don't like it.
What notes did you sort of have on it?
It just
or-
tastes like a glass of red wine, and I'm not a wine guy. And immediately, as soon as we poured it, I saw the color, I smelled it, and I was like, "Oh, I'm in fucking trouble here."
So it's the Cabernet grapes that are catching up to you here.
Yeah, it just smells like red wine. It's supposed to be a sour. It doesn't taste sour. It tastes like wine.
Oh, see,
It's
I
supposed
disagree.
to be beer. It doesn't taste like beer.
I
It tastes like
disagree.
wine.
I really, really enjoyed it. I thought that it was an excellent sour. The wine, you're right, or sort of the grapes that they put into it, definitely add a super tart finish to it, and I
Yeah.
can see where that might be a challenge. But I thought it was super smooth, had really delicious tart flavors, goes down really easy for an 8%er. I'm kind of moving into this sort of wine/beer meld kind of area, and really enjoying the beers that are coming out of it. I like the ones that they are sort of adding wine grapes to as they ferment, or they put them into the process.
I will say this. If you are a person who likes wine, you will enjoy this. I'm just not a person who likes wine.
So this is going to be sort of the gateway beer for people who are wine drinkers but not yet craft beer drinkers. This is where they need to
I
head
just
to.
don't think you would even realize you were drinking beer if you drank this.
And that's kind of fair. It kind of tastes more along the juice/wine sort of side, or cidery side of kind of beverages.
I'm getting no malt here.
Yeah, which is
Where's the
perfect.
malt?
Which is perfect.
Oh, no,
I know.
I like malt.
I know you're a
You like
malt.
hops.
You're
Malt guy.
a malt mouthful kind of fella. And,
All day.
Yeah, and I'd rather have the hops, but that's okay. If you haven't though, I'm gonna have to bring you some more beer from Steel Wheel Brewery, because they have some ones that I know that you would love.
Well, I was gonna say, I'm a fruited sour man. I
Yeah.
love sours. Just this is not a sour.
I
I don't know what
yeah.
this is. It's not for me.
And I chose this one because I thought it fit well with sort of our FDR kind of prohibition style.
Because of the wheelchair, you racist.
No, not because of that. But he is the steel wheel, as we know.
He is Wheels of Steel.
Wheels
That's his
of
call
steel.
sign.
All right.
This was fun, man. I don't know.
This
Like,
is good.
I can't recommend this movie to people, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the experience of getting drunk off this wine beer.
Yeah.
Even if I didn't enjoy the taste of the wine beer. And hopefully next week we're going to have something just as good. Next week we are doing a request from one of our social media followers. It's Jaws the Revenge.
Ooh, Jaws the Revenge. So I think I've only ever seen Jaws 1.
I've seen 1 and 3. This is 4.
Oh, 4. How many? What? How many Jaws did they make?
This was the last one.
Okay.
They
So
didn't
it's
make
going
any
to
more
be
after
good,
this.
is what you're saying?
I hope so.
All right.
But it is a request, and I will tell you now, we're drinking a fruited sour next week, and this is a real fruited sour, not this wine horse shit. So I will enjoy that beer at least, I'm sure.
All right.
That's going to be next week. If you haven't already, please follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the BMB Podcast.
Yeah, if you have any recommendations for us, you can send them as DMs to our social media, or if you want to send us an email at thebmbpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love those, please.
Absolutely. And we will see you next week for Jaws the Revenge. Until then, I'm Cooper,
And I'm Nolan.
and we'll see you next week on Bad Movies and Beer.
Keep it rolling.
Oh, I like that. What has 2 wheels and kills werewolves? This guy.